Welcome to another great show. This is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Just to give you a little background of who I am, I have 15 years experience in production, mainly mobile sports broadcasting, but also corporate video, commercial video, independent film, and other audio-visual productions as a crew member, mainly audio, camera work, producing. I also run a company called Viral Media Network. We provide video production services, but also produce our own content, mainly on YouTube, but also this audio podcast. If you're a new listener, we want to thank you for joining in and get you a little up to speed on what this show is about. It's about the creative freelancer, those that are a musician, a performer, maybe you're in production, maybe you're a filmmaker, maybe you're a crew member, maybe you're a camera operator. Anyone that's creating their own path by their own business and not working a typical 9-to-5. We want to hear the stories from you, what helps you grow, the tips and techniques you might have, or the advice you might have for other people coming up and building their resume, and also just stories from the front lines and how current events are affecting your business and your growth. If you're a returning listener, we want to thank you so much for supporting us. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Viral Media Network 415, or wherever you podcast. If you listen to audio podcasts, we're on Google, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Spreaker, Stitcher, and wherever else you podcast. Make sure to like the videos you like, thumbs down the videos you don't like, leave a comment, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see better. We're up for your input and shaping the content to better serve you. And we've got a great guest today, Bosko Kante, who has produced for E40, Tupac, Drake, Lil Jon, Kanye. Thanks again. Let's get on to the interview with Bosko Kante. Viral Media Network presents the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Today's guest, Grammy Award-winning producer and Mr. Electro Spit himself, Bosko Kante. Welcome to the Sam Jack Podcast.
I'm ready. Oh, Electro Spit Sham. Talking about Electro Spit, yeah. My name is Bosko, and I'm on. Ready to go right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what a great way to start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I got my man Bosko Kante to the virtual left of me. He is on the show you're watching. It's the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait,
Sam
I am.
Jack Podcast. Oh, welcome.
I love it. AKA Lumberjack, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Welcome. How you doing tonight? How's everything going, man?
Man, everything is great, man. Everything is great. Just happy to be here. And, man, ready to talk some music tech, some music production, some talk box, and, you know.
That's great. We might get a little deeper than that if you don't mind, you know.
Oh, yeah. No, let's go deep.
All right.
Deep.
I'm going to start fanboy style, but I'll give a little prep for those that don't know. My man is very eclectic, man after my own heart, a renaissance man, if you will. He's not only a producer, he's a musician of his own right. He's an engineer. He's invented this thing that he's playing around with. Obviously, it's a talk box, but it's not just any talk box. It is his own proprietary electro spit, as he calls it. So tell us more about the electro spit. A quick blurb. We're going to delve deep into it. Talk about the electro spit and what's going on with that.
Just in a nutshell, this is the Electro Spit mobile talk box. So it's the first and the only mobile tubeless talk box. So if you're not familiar with the talk box, it's like Teddy Riley, Roger Troutman, Peter Frampton stick the tube in your mouth and you play the guitar or the keyboard. Instead of doing that, You put this device, the ElectroSpit ESX1, around your neck. The sound comes from your sound source, your keyboard or guitar, through your neck and out of your mouth. You don't actually need a microphone, but we're recording, live, so you need a microphone.
Oh, and it sounds like that. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Sorry
it.
if it looked like I was switching back and forth. I was trying to bring up the webpage picture of it. So it basically looks like a set of headphones.
It does.
To a layman's eye,
It looks like a set of headphones, and I mean the concept is kind of similar to a set of headphones. You have the sound that's coming out, but instead of it going into your ears, it goes into your neck, and then it comes out of your mouth. So whatever sound you play, you can filter with your mouth and create words.
Yeah, and then as people can see, thanks to this being a video podcast, you have an app on your phone that you've made that works with the device. So you have the keys in front of you, the notes and whatnot, right? For those that aren't musically inclined.
That's right. Yeah. I wanted to make it portable. One of the best ways is to use an app, and it also allows us to add functionality that you can't get in real life. You're not constrained by physics. You can make it, you move to the side and the pitch changes, you move up and it adds vibrato. You can, change the scale, transpose, all that kind of stuff that you can't do in real life, you can do with an app and with software. So it just adds a lot of features and it's a lot of fun.
It's really awesome. And then, that obviously came from a need from yourself. Like, I'm kind of a gadget guy where it's like, I had the doctor sample, I had all these different devices, and then was it just that like nothing else was really working to what you wanted it, and then you just wanted to make something of yourself, or you saw a need from other musicians? How did that work out?
It was really scratching my own itch. I had so many times, like Talkbox has been a huge part of my career, and the songs that I've used Talkbox on have been some of the biggest songs I produced or featured on. But I had opportunities to perform, and oftentimes I couldn't perform because the Talkbox has all these parts and it's not wireless. Or if I was performing, I'd be way in the back, behind the speaker. And this was a way for me to get out front, to get on stage at a moment's notice, and just perform freely. And it was always a dream. So many talk boxes you talk to, they wish that they were wireless and free. And I said, why can't I make this happen? And I did.
Yeah, because I remember when I first sort of found out about the talk box, a little bit about Roger and Zapp. Peter Frampton is, I think, what most people come to mind, if not the Roger and Zapp. And the old school is like you got this tube coming up, and then you got a whole separate device, and then the AC adapter. And as you said, it's not as streamlined, and it's 2020, right? So you got to bring that mobile technology and the nano technology, really, I think, right, when it comes to circuit. I'm not electrical engineer of your caliber, but understanding that nanotechnology has really skyrocketed in the last 10 years to allow you some of this, correct?
Well, yeah, what I would say is maybe not necessarily on the nano scale, but the idea is that we can take advantage of all of the miniaturization that's happened with the mobile phone. Stuff that was, hundreds of thousands of dollars is now, cents, and you can just do stuff that you couldn't do in the past, using those same components to make something that's mobile, that you can have small amplifiers. You have all of the features of the software and the touch screen that you didn't have access to in the past, and all of the software tools to make apps. It's a lot easier than it used to be.
Absolutely. I hope I didn't catch you off guard there. I was trying to cut in one of your demo videos there on your website, so I was didn't want the audio to be too jarring, but basically that was you demoing. I think you had some sort of MPC or
I was using the Native Instruments machine.
Yeah, the machine. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so talk about how you've been able to integrate it not only with the app that you built, but those kind of other third-party sources, or I guess industry standard controllers that they have now that is synonymous with digital music production.
Well, one of the great things about this device is it works with other instruments. So it's allowed us to partner with companies like Native Instruments, like IK Multimedia, and use different sound sources to feed the ESX1, because you can modulate any sound, whether it's guitar, synthesizer, virtual a virtual synth, and Native makes some great products, and it's also a very popular device, the machine, and it's another way of interacting. We're trying to stay on the cutting edge. Like, there's all kinds of ways to make music, and if you're used to playing on a drum machine, then become a virtuoso on the drum machine, and then you can feed that through your body and be a talk boxer at the same time. So that's the idea.
That's pretty awesome. And like I ask everyone during this whole crazy time, like, you were just in the midst of really building the company and growing Electro Spit. You started engineering the model, and then you got funding with a Kickstarter campaign that's still going, that I want to bring light to. But right as you began starting major production, the pandemic hit. And
Right.
how have you adapted to that? I know there's been struggles, and we've all, as performers and
Yeah.
creative people, had to rethink what a live event is, what performing
Right.
looks like, what revenue streams look like. So I know we've all
Right.
been going through it. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that, as much as you feel comfortable with, obviously, without it.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, so definitely we were just starting to deliver to our Kickstarter backers, which I mean had been a huge challenge. Manufacturing a physical device is really tough, especially when it's your first time and it's a new device. So there's no like you can't go out and find the guy who built the last one and hire him to build yours. You have to create everything.
Right. Or call
um
someone for tech support, right?
there's no tech support for new products. We're the tech support. So, and we were gonna originally we had planned to manufacture in China, but kind of at the last minute we decided to we got the confidence to manufacture in Oakland, which is really what we always wanted to manufacture in Oakland, right here, but we didn't think it was possible. But with each prototype that we built, we got more and more confidence, and I put together like 50 units for VIPs before we started manufacturing. And just going through that experience, I said, man, we can do this. And we decided to manufacture in Oakland. And it's funny because we started like January 1st, 2020, manufacturing in Oakland, and we started to see the pandemic happening in China, and we were saying to ourselves, man, I'm so glad we're not in China right now manufacturing. We would have been stuck, quarantined or whatever. And and we put together about half of our production. Then we went out of town to go to this the Guthman Awards. We won first place at the Guthman Awards, and the People's Choice Awards, which is an international new musical instrument award show. Our sales were taking off, and then the pandemic hit like the next week and just totally shut everything down. All of our facility, which we're at Zoo Labs, was closed. So our sales stopped completely. It was just the worst, just about the worst thing you can imagine. Except we didn't get sick, which was that was the only silver lining, I guess. But uh I can't hear you right now.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. I can hear you
Okay.
now. Sorry.
I guess I was being oddly intently listening, so I guess I was
That's
doing something
okay.
right for once.
That's okay. I
Yeah.
apologize. So
No,
so
it's all good. Please.
so yeah. So we had just everything had just shut down. Sales stopped. The manufacturing had to stop. Everybody had to go home, and it was, it's like panic time. What are we gonna do? And I started talking to. I'm part of this group called Optima Boot Camp, and another group called the Runway Labs now, and it's a support and education group and a fund that helps um, Black entrepreneurs, especially Black female entrepreneurs as well, and small businesses with education. And I was talking to some of my peers in that group, and some of their sales were doing well or even increasing. And it gave me the confidence to revamp our marketing efforts. And I launched this Talkbox Tuesday weekly live show, which um, really started energizing our community, and our sales started picking back up. I got creative about the manufacturing side. Um, we started making kits of the parts, and I would literally drive around the city with different parts to different employees, like, because one employee might be really good at the first 5 steps, and then another employee might be really good at steps 6 through 20 or 12. And so I would take the parts to one employee, they'd put them together, then I pick them up and take them to the next employee, and we had this whole system, and we've been able to manufacture maybe 400 units during the pandemic remotely.
Wow.
That way. And it's been really tough. It's been really expensive because the time that it takes is,
And the distribution, you almost have to distribute it multiple steps, because what you're basically saying is you practiced the social distancing of sort of building a part of it and then moving it to another manufacturing site, which is just one person's
person's house,
and then another site all throughout stages, right? And
yeah,
that's really commendable, and pretty ingenious on how to work around those. And everyone stayed safe too, right? So
yeah,
you were able
nobody's
to,
sick so far.
yeah.
It's just, we've overcome so many challenges with Electrospit to get to this point. It was just, it was a big one, but we just figured out, how can we do this? And there's a way. And you don't get caught up, in the emotions of, like, of course it would be so much simpler to have everybody just sitting here in the at Zoo Labs, and you need part number 20, and you just walk over to the bin and pick it up. But now, instead of that, oh, I need part number 20. Oh, well, I gotta drive it over to you, or coordinate where you can pick it up. So it just made things a lot more complicated. But you just get organized and figure it out. And the team was really supportive in terms of sticking with it, and we've had great results. The quality has been great, even with everybody working remote. So keep on pushing forward. And the whole Talkbox Tuesday thing has been super fun. Like getting talk boxers like Mr. Talkbox, Sergio Salim, Hazmat, Fingers, and working with other Talkbox manufacturers, the Talkstar, to just grow the community, and just provide a place where people who love the Talkbox can share stories about songs, and perform their favorite songs, and learn techniques and tips. So that whole process has been really dope.
That's awesome. There's actually a bunch of questions I had based on what you were saying, namely, to start with the Talkbox Tuesday. I keep saying Talkback because when we're doing communication on the trucks, it's like there's Talkback. Anyway, sort of like in the studio when you do Talkback. But anyways, Talkbox Tuesday has been successful. I'm sure you have a lot of fun with it too, because you can basically do, kind of like this, a podcast sort of thing, but with, you know, a musical performance element, and it's mainly performance and talking shop about, you know, what works for that artist, with your electric, excuse me.
Yeah, like the electric
Can we pause 1 second? I need to take a quick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is where we're gonna edit it out. It's like,
it's all
take
good.
some water. Yeah.
Whoa, girl, you know sky is the limit. I'ma keep on reaching. So much love to give, so won't. So much love to give, so won't you come and get it? Bring your body.
Nice. Thank you. And I do want to break a couple times if you want to just do some more like performances, or at the end if you want to just do like a full song, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, you know, the live streaming Talkbox Tuesday is not only a chance to perform, talk shop about the gear, what works, and get feedback for that, but essentially, you know, like you said, it's a great marketing tool because you're sharing your expertise and you're having fun. It's a soft sell, in other words, right?
Right.
And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that because, you know, everyone knows that you're trying to make money, you're trying to be successful at this, and what better way than to showcase it and to have fun doing what you love doing and playing music, right?
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, you know, I try to focus on adding value to, you know, to like, again, providing a platform for people and just having a good time. You know, I enjoy, I'm a fan. You know, this instrument that I've grown up with and love my whole life. And I get to talk to some of my favorite players of the instruments and share stories. And, you know, every time I'm talking to people, sometimes for the first time in depth, and it feels like we live parallel lives sometimes with certain, you know, records that we loved growing up, or, you know, artists that we listen to. So it's just a good time. And yeah, I don't think about trying to sell the device. I just think about trying to connect with whoever I'm, you know, talking to, and helping other people to see, like, look how amazing this artist is. This guy, he's or girl, lady, she plays multiple instruments, she produces, and you know, just being in awe of my guests is one of my favorite things to do. It's good times, and then people see, you know, what's going on, and then I talk about the technology if they have questions, if the people that are watching. So it's a chance to spread the information, basically.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. Yeah, and we're watching another demo,
SF
a
Music
reel
Tech.
here. Yeah, and you're showing. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think you can see that. Like, also, you know, the 2004 clip of Kanye performing with the fake talk box and all this kind of stuff. And
Yes.
you know, you've obviously have great material to showcase your stuff. But I also wanted to talk about doing the live streaming, how that, you know, we're all learning new ways of performing and new ways of revenue streams. So
Right.
talk about what ways. Obviously, you have a very niche audience with talk boxing, but like, you know, from the verse battles to you know, D Nice killing it, to Questlove, to all these folks out there in the live stream. Do you think everyone's going to get lost in the shuffle, or there's only going to be a few people? Do you think there's room for everyone? How do you see this kind of shaking out? Because obviously everyone's doing it. The cat's out of the bag after 4 months, right?
Yeah.
You know, how do you see it sort of, you know, shaking out and kind of, you know, playing out?
That's a great question, and honestly, I hadn't really thought about it. You know, we started doing a live stream just out of necessity, and it's just, you know, before, what I was doing is I would fly to different cities and hook up with people in their studio and do demos and grab video, and then share that online. But obviously, that's not possible right now. Um, and but you also have to think about the advantages of doing a live stream with people is you don't have to fly. They're setting up their all of the cameras on their end. There's still a lot of challenges around getting high quality video and audio,
The
but I
costs
think,
are low and syncing it, right?
yeah, there's
To
the
play
the
live together, right? Have you figured that one out?
yeah, okay, well, it's, you know, it is possible to, there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't. Like, as far as playing live, if somebody is playing, then you can follow along with them, but
Yes.
they can't follow along with you
Right.
after you play. So it has to kind of be a one way.
Right. And you're the record, right?
I'm the record.
Right.
So I hear what they're doing. I can add something on top of it and record.
Right.
But they can't like try to match my time or anything like that. So there's still a lot of stuff you can do, and we've been able to do like call and response kinds of things with the talk box, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And definitely just live performance, people just, you know, going off on their instrument, playing songs, you know, playing videos and stuff. That works great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard that MIDI works. I don't know how to interface MIDI across the internet, but I hear with MIDI there's no delay. So if there's a way to, I don't know if you've used MIDI at all in your configuration.
I haven't used MIDI, but I mean there's always going to be a delay in between the two people. But if I'm just reacting to what you're doing, then it's okay. There's no problem, because everybody in what's being recorded is the guest, and then what I do on top of what the guest does.
Right.
But if the guest was trying to record or get something back, then you have a back and forth. When you have a back and forth, there's too much delay and it doesn't work. But I think just to answer your question, the production quality is going to keep on improving. The people who are the best personalities and the best content is going to always win. And I think in music, you know, you have hit songs that are way bigger than all the other songs, and that's going to continue. But there's going to be you know, especially if you're using different business models, there's room for success at different scales. Like for us, we don't have to have 1 million you know, viewers for it to be a success, because we're selling a hardware product. If we get a few people to buy our talk box, the electro spit, each week, it's a win, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just gonna continue to change, and it's hard to predict the future, man. But I'm excited. I love that artists take a technology and use it in a way that it wasn't intended for, you know. And that's the innovation and the creativity and the spirit of hip hop, you know. The same, you know, way that the turntable and the spray paint can were turned into these, you know, worldwide art forms and phenomenons. You know, we just continue to do it with Instagram and whatever we can get a hold of.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about your history with that, because a lot of people don't know, you know, they know you just through the electro spit. And that's how I initially met you. You're very humble. You didn't say, well, I'm Bosko. You don't know me from this. And then I had to like go back and be like, wait, that Bosko? Like, I just thought it was the same, you know, and I was like,
Bosko.
The one, the only, okay? And I knew that you had produced E40, you know, and I have a list here, Tupac, Kanye, Drake, T.I., J. Cole, the list goes on and on. The Living Color theme song from season 3. I want to ask you that question, but there was still more from what you said that I want to follow up with quickly.
Yeah.
2 points. Talk quickly about the Zoo Labs and how you collaborated with them. You know, for those that don't know about the Zoo Labs and your personal relationship, and then you also mentioned those groups that you were a part of, and just the sort of idea and concept of mentorship. It sounds like that's kind of a support group, and
Yes.
not only do they have resources and funding, but it sounds like it's also a mentorship
Definitely.
group where you can bounce off ideas, and the importance of that, and always learning. I think those, the Zoo Labs and those mentorships kind of go hand in hand as far as conceptually, like. You have come a long way. I mean, I'm so amazed with your track record and your resume, but yet you're still learning, you're still seeking resources, you're still growing. So talk a little bit about that and how that's important to you.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but maybe it's partially just the spirit. Like growing up in Portland, Portland is really a do-it-yourself town. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and it's like if you want to figure something out, you just go do it. You go to back when I was growing up, you just go to the library and check out the books, read the books, and figure out how it's done. And when I started doing digital music, nobody had a sequencer. I was trying to make songs and I didn't have access or even know what a 24 track reel to reel was. So I was reading magazines like Electronic Musician and said, oh, you can buy this Atari ST computer and it's couple $100 and I could do stuff that could only be done with $500,000 equipment with this computer and a 4-track, and that kind of spirit just continued. I was one of the first people, or the first person, to do a gold selling hip hop album on Pro Tools with E40's Element of Surprise. And I just continued finding new ways to record that were cheaper, better, faster, um, and then fast forward, I've always loved technology. I have an engineering background, and I was interested in creating my own device, and then I got introduced to Zoo Labs through a couple of my best friend, Cool Nutz, who's an artist and a DJ, on-air personality up in Portland, Oregon. He introduced me to this guy, Chief Excel, who's part of Black Alicious, who was working at Zoo Labs, or not working at Zoo Labs, but he was recording at a studio at Zoo Labs. And Zoo Labs is a music tech accelerator, or maybe just more specifically, just a music accelerator, where they take the concept of the startup and apply it to bands and use startup technology, startup thinking, design thinking.
Incubator kind of mentality, right?
Yeah, Bay Area cutting edge mentality to help bands get to know their fans better and be more efficient with their resources. And at the time, they invited me to apply. It was this. I came in as a mentor, which is interesting, because I had the music industry background and the music production background. And when we were talking about my career, and I was saying some of the things that I wanted to do, they said, well, you should, apply. And I said, yeah, I should apply, because they were bringing all these resources and relationships and mentors to these bands. And I said, well, I want that for this idea that I have. So I went through the Zoo Labs program. It's been 6 years now. Zoo Labs has been incredible. It's been my home base. It's where I record music from. It's where we're building. When we didn't have a place to build the ESX1, the Electro Spit, and the things with China were not working out, they welcomed us here to manufacture at Zoo Labs. They've connected us with so many resources from one of our first investors. They connected us with Exponential Creativity Ventures. They connected us with mentors around electrical engineering, mentors on industrial design. You know, it's just every time we needed something, Zoo Labs really stepped up and made a connection, and they've been incredible. And I have also become a mentor here because of my previous experience in the music business and my current experience, you know, in startups and with Electrospit. I'm able to share that information with other bands and other tech companies and help them avoid the pitfalls that we've, you know, had to climb out of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really believe in mentorship and continuing education. And you know, I'm the kind of person that I don't really think about what I did in the past. I'm just always focused on whatever the challenges ahead of me, probably to a fault. That's actually one of my new challenges is finding my life balance, you know, and because I have the tendency to just work all the time, and you know, that's sometimes that's not good. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's what this pandemic sort of shelter in place, we've been forced to think about that. And
yeah,
thankfully, if you have not been, you know, medically or scientifically affected by catching the virus or been exposed to anyone that has it, it's allowed you to really reflect on what you've been doing and, you know, what you mentioned with, you know, financially and business wise,
yeah,
refocusing your shifts, but also from a personal standpoint of like, you know, the classic is like, oh, like everyone's making sourdough bread, or like for me, it's like, hey, I got to stretch more every day to like, you know, not be so
yeah,
sore or whatever. Like I got to eat better, or like, hey, let's make more home cooked meals. Like all of
right,
that is what we're all going through. So I think a lot of us, you know, try to make the best out of situations like this,
that's
but
right,
also when we're left with idle hands, okay, it's great to, you know, binge watch all the stuff you can, sometimes take a break, but it's also like, this is an opportunity. I mean, for me personally, because I was professionally working so much in this avenue of sports broadcasting, I didn't
mm-hmm,
have time to focus on stuff like this podcast and have wonderful conversations with people like you. So,
right, right,
you know, it's kind of like that phoenix rising out of the ashes in a way.
right.
And you might not like to look at the past, but having seen your resume, I've got a couple questions for you on it. So I hope
No,
you don't
no,
mind.
no. That's another thing that I'm actually, you know, I'm into self-improvement, and I want to start getting better at telling some of these stories
Oh,
because
please do, because you
yeah,
know you could probably start your own podcast with just, you know, telling a story each episode. But you know, when I found out that you did the In Living Color theme, you know, I did a little
right,
research and it's like, okay, it's not the first one, all right. So
yeah,
because I was gonna be blown away because I was like, wait, how old was I when the first one? Okay, 90. I think I was, you know, you might be a little older than me, but anyways, I was like maybe 12 or something. So you must have
hmm,
been fairly young, at least
yep.
the youngest maybe 15 or 16, maybe 18. I don't know. I don't want to, you know, blow you up and,
It's all good.
but
It's all
anyways,
good. I'm older
the
than I
third
look.
season, the question isn't to be like, oh, how did you do this when you're so young, which I am interested in, but that's a story of like, that probably elevated your career and jump started you. But my question
Yeah.
is how is it perceived being at the third season and you kind of flip, you know, I'm sure the producers are like, well, we need a little bit of change in the theme to,
Right.
and then
Right.
you come in and I'm sure the original theme person was maybe burnt, you know,
You
bent
know,
out of
I
shape.
never really talked to Eddie F, who which is it was really cool actually. Eddie F bought an Electrospit talk box about 2 months ago, and that was huge. Like I was really excited to have him contact me and to start that relationship. It was the 93-94 season, and they my
That's what I was
buddy,
queuing up. Yeah.
who his name was Trey Ski, uh, DJ Trey Ski or DJ Technique. Um, he and I were producing a bunch of stuff together, and he was actually the DJ for In Living Color. So he wasn't the on-air DJ. He was the guy that was behind the scenes
The real
acting.
DJ,
The real DJ.
not
He
just
was.
Marlon Wayans, right? Like,
That's right. Marlon was acting like the DJ.
right.
Trey Ski was cutting and scratching and mixing and really making it happen. And because he was the DJ, he had an inside track on what was going on with the show, and they were looking for something new. They wanted a change of the theme song, and they said, "Hey, why don't you present something?" And it just so happened that all of the production, he was a really dope producer, but he only sampled. So all of his stuff was samples, and that wasn't what they needed um, for this theme song, because they didn't want to have to clear a bunch of samples. Um, so he brought me in. He said, "Hey, let's do something together." Together, we came up with this the 93, 94 version, and I added this laugh, which is me laughing at the beginning, which I think really sealed the deal. And I play trumpet. I grew up playing trumpet, and I always loved the artist Doc Severinsen. Well, it just so happens that Doc Severinsen's daughter, Nancy Severinsen, was the music supervisor for the show, and it was just weird anyway. But it was so cool that she was the one who picked this theme song, and that really did jumpstart my career, in the sense that I was still in school at USC. I was a junior, and I was thinking, I was planning to be a mechanical engineer. But when I got that opportunity, that break, I've got a major theme song on a hit TV show. I said, hey, if I'm supposed to be so smart, I can figure out how to make a living as a music producer, because I really love music production. And I made a switch right there, and the rest is history, as they say.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. That's really sweet. I mean, that's just it's so serendipitous, and I want to get to your studies, because you do have an electrical engineering background. And that's mechanical engineering, which is actually different and lends itself to more, physical hardware as opposed to just software. So I wanted. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
You can ask me the question. But what's interesting is I've had to do all kinds of engineering. There's like, my training is mechanical, but what I'm doing daily is whatever I need to do. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's having that engineering mindset. Yeah, no, forgive me. Sometimes I get a little mixed up with terms. When I'm running through all this, but having that background, but also being a music producer.
Right.
You were born in Ghana. You grew up in Portland, but then you made it to Oakland, the Bay, by way of Atlanta and Los Angeles. So how has that eclecticness sort of shaped, I guess, your music production and just the way you approach whether it's producing or engineering from that production or producing music? How does that affect your approach, do you think?
I need to really dig into my history and figure out myself where this came from. But I always had this attitude of, if there's something that I wanted to do, I would just go figure it out, and I wanted to get into the music business, and I figured out how to go to college in Los Angeles because that's where the music business was. I learned how to do all of the music production stuff even in middle school with the computers and software when nobody was doing it. Uh, Starting a startup, I just go on the internet and watch YouTube videos and listen and meet people who have information, get mentors. I mean, it's just, I've always had that attitude of just figuring it out, and it's what I've had to do every step of the way for this Electrospit company. It's like, how do you build a hardware product? How do you, I mean, how do you design one? You know, go and start making prototypes, and how does you know, how do the amplifiers and all those work? Well, start watching YouTube videos and um,
Sourcing the material, because there ain't no Radio Shack no more. So like, where do you go to get the
no,
parts, right?
you just build it. You make rapid prototypes, and then you try it. If it doesn't work, you try it another way. And then I didn't know how to, first I had to learn how to do all the fabrication. So I had to learn how to use just, you know, off the shelf tools that wasn't familiar with. um, you know, how do you cut threads into plastic, and there's, you know, different ways to do that. There's ways to do everything. Um and then how do you create a PCB? You know, first I'm hacking together off the shelf stuff, and then I'm making uh you know, prototypes by hand, and then you figure out how to have those made by a third party company that can do a PCB and actually put SMT, like really tiny components, onto the circuit board. And you know, at first I was very intimidated on all of the electrical part of it, but you know, it wasn't going to work unless I learned how to do it. And you just keep pushing forward. And how do you do the 3D design? You know, you have to find somebody who can help you learn the software. How do you do injection molding? You know, how do you do manufacturing? You can come up with this great prototype, but how do you make 1,000 or 1,000,000? It's a totally different process. How do you manufacture? uh, you know, you start reading online. How do you create an assembly line? What are the steps? What are the, you know, things to think about? How do you create a manual for how do you put this thing together? You know, it's just, you just have to be willing to kind of slog through the difficult parts in learning something new. But I love that process. I love learning new stuff. And if you have to have a lot of faith, you know, in yourself, um courage that it's gonna be, things are gonna come out all right. You're not gonna fail, that you're gonna find a solution even when it takes a lot longer than you think. um and I think you build up that courage from, you know, years of having successful projects that I worked on, and that took a long time. Like, being a music producer can be really scary. You know, you place first, you have never placed a song, and you're just working and you're working, and then you get a placement and you make some money. But then you might not get another placement for 6 months or 9 months or a year, and you're still making songs and playing them for people and thinking somebody's gonna pick one of these songs. And you have to, every night when you go into the studio, you have to have the courage to know that one of these records somebody's going to use is going to turn into something, and you're going to be able to support yourself off of the money that comes out of that. And so you get used to living in that kind of a on the edge, I guess. And that's definitely the way that Electrospit has been. It's been always on the edge. You know, when we launched our Kickstarter, we were literally completely out of money, like completely. we, we had been planning the Kickstarter for like 2 years. Like, we're gonna do this Kickstarter when as soon as we get the prototype to this point, and as soon as we get the campaign ready and we get the media assets and all that. We got to the point where, you know what, if we don't launch this now, we're not it's gonna be over. We're not gonna get a chance to launch it. So we launched it like at the 11th hour, and had an amazing response, and it really just gave us a shot of life. And Kickstarter was, you know, incredible for us to get us to that next level. um but it was out of necessity for sure. And but it's been continually like being faced with, you know, uh just you gotta make it, or you know, you gotta give 100% and find all the creative solutions, you know, then that makes you dig deeper and figure it out. And that's been necessity has been the mother of invention for us over and over again.
For sure. And then, it's like the old saying of like, if you don't take risks, you're never going to succeed in life. We've talked about this before on the podcast, that sometimes you have to fail 10 times in order to achieve once. And you certainly alluded to that through your music production analogy there, is that maybe you didn't fail with all the songs you put out, but like you said, there's a gap between, okay, I got a banger, like, or even, okay, a Living Color theme came out and that put you on the map, but then you had to go to the, it's a constant, sort of honing your craft and getting on, and then things change, right? Sounds change, ideas change, the industry changes, technology changes, you got to keep up with it.
And it's not linear. Like music isn't linear, you don't just like, now I got one hit, now from now on every song I make is going to be a hit. No, it's still, even for the best artists, they're putting out songs, and some of them are big, some of them aren't, and as a producer, you gotta and there's a lot of getting songs placed and then you don't get paid for it for some reason, because the company goes out of business, or some legal dispute happens with the publishing, or there's just so many reasons why you might not get paid for a song, and it's just like very speculative.
I've experienced that on the video side, doing an independent shoot, and it looked all good, and then all of a sudden the money fell through or whatever, and so that point specifically doesn't, but what you were saying about evolving and always stay on top of it, how it's not a linear path. Hip hop has obviously changed a lot from when you were putting out stuff with E40, and you've worked with Tupac. Lil Jon is obviously very different than that. J. Cole is a little bit more current, obviously. Baby, is it Baby Bash? I'm gonna butcher it. I'm really
Baby
white
Bash.
here, but Baby Bash. That's a young guy. Flo Rida has definitely been around for a minute, but he's on the newer side. Tyrese, of course, is old school. Bruno Mars, Nick Cannon. How does it work when you're dealing with all these things, but also as it evolves, and then as we're leaning more towards there's been like the kind of like old school head. I think like 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, everyone was kind of dogging the new school quote unquote mumble rap, and these backpacker true school folks were just like F that, all that stuff. But it's like, hey, you don't want to sound like someone, from our parents' age. They're just like, when do these kids listen to the darn rap music? Like
that's right.
So how do you navigate through that and stay current, but also stay true to your roots, and also keep those clients that you had that you've worked with before? Because I'm sure from a certain point, while you think of music as a collaboration, artists are also clients in a way, right? So being able to make yourself available, not pigeonhole yourself into one genre or subgenre of hip hop, I should say, rap, but stay current, stay fresh, and also maintain all these relationships.
For me, I've really been focused on electro spit and creating the instrument for the last 6 years, and I've been doing production sporadically. I've been doing more features, so that's kind of one of the ways I've stayed connected to more current sound and songs and artists. Is I'll get called to bring and add talk box to different records, and that's like the big boy stuff, the J. Cole record, and people want a unique or a classic sound that they can add to their record, and that's been really dope. I don't like, whenever I hear a record and it's a hit, for the most part, I try to think of why is it successful? Why do people like it, rather than why doesn't this sound like the songs that I made 20 years ago or 10 years ago? It's a new audience. They don't have the experience of listening to the songs that I listened to growing up, so they come from a different perspective, and maybe things are new to them that I've already heard or experienced. So I try to take all of that into consideration when I'm listening to music. And there's always so much great stuff out there, you know. Whenever I dig just a little bit beyond the surface of whatever the number one record is, there's so much talent. It blows me away. So I just become a fan, and I don't get caught up into that. Oh, this new music sucks, because it's not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it's good perspective, and also just, sort of like constantly learning about stuff is, keeping an open mind about everything. And,
Yeah,
things change, and, it's just all about, adapting to that, as we've been alluding to. And so,
definitely.
speaking of the current times and pandemic and stuff, I know we talked about
Yeah,
this briefly prepping for the show, but obviously things are going, socially, I guess you could say, or from an equality standpoint, things are certainly getting, I don't know what the right word is. So, people are, the police brutality is coming to light
yeah,
again. We have the protests, all this stuff. A
right,
lot of people have been super vocal and super involved in
right.
activating. And, based on posts, I noticed that you are certainly an advocate, and you certainly believe in police reform and Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. But I've noticed that you've stayed away from being very aggressive with your stance. And so
Yeah,
I initially thought that was maybe a decision to, a decision to sort of wait and see. But it turns out that you're just a busy guy, and the way that you stand up and make a name for yourself and for justice and equality is by creating business and moving on with your creativity, right?
yeah, that's a good description. When everything kind of started happening and hitting the national media spotlight, um I really started thinking about how I could participate, how I could help, what kind of impact that I could make. um this time has been really personally difficult for me, outside of, you know, the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, um, and even outside of the pandemic. I've had lots of personal challenges happening at the same time. So, like, and business challenges, just keeping Electro Spit uh, going. We've been at the brink so many times, and just, you know, pulling off miracles to figure out how to get this product out to the people, with way less funding than we really needed to build something like this. You know, we raised 113,000 on Kickstarter, but we
Amazing.
needed 300 and we needed 300,000 or 500,000, and we pulled it from other places, and you learned skills. And I mean, so when the pandemic hit, I was exhausted, like totally exhausted and tapped out in every aspect. But and just trying to figure out how to keep going. And so then the George Floyd, I mean, was just heartbreaking and you know terrible. But at the same time, I had been seeing this kind of thing. When Black people see that kind of thing, it's outrage that they feel, but it's not surprise. It's not shock. Like, I'm not like, wow, this happened. I'm like, oh wow, they caught this on film finally.
Right.
So
Well, a lot of things were happening that happened 5 or 6 years ago with,
they had
Mike
not just
Brown,
five
and
or six
yeah,
years. I mean, it's
but
been
forever,
happening.
right?
Yeah,
Uh,
400 years.
yeah, yeah,
It just has been ongoing. And it's difficult, especially me being so like emotionally burnt out, and at the time, to live in a state of outrage has been really difficult. But I participated in the protests and went out on some of those, and I did some posts, but I had kind of almost stopped posting on Instagram before it happened, and I didn't feel like me posting over and over on Instagram was necessarily the thing that was going to make a difference. There's maybe more people that had um, more capacity and could be on the ground to do that part of it. But what I did do is start thinking about how can I um, re-energize myself to make a difference, to help other um, entrepreneurs, other small Black businesses. How can I do more mentorship? How can I patronize more businesses? Those are the areas that I felt I could make the most impact, more than making social media posts. And I definitely didn't think about like not posting because, oh, this might turn off some Trump supporter or something.
Or someone that's on the fence or
Yeah,
unsure how to come, how to, unsure how to fall against police brutality or siding with the
yeah,
cops. It's like,
right. I think it. It's clear that we need to stop police brutality, and and that I didn't I'm not trying to shy away from that message. I believe that the resources that are being put um into law enforcement could be better allocated. Like, why do we think of police with fear? Why are people with guns showing up when someone has a mental health problem, when somebody is even if there's a crime that's committed, but it's there's a long list of crimes that can be solved and
that
dealt
aren't
with,
violent, non-violent crimes, right?
don't require guns.
Mental health, domestic
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, so many.
Yeah, where you don't need, you might need, a public officer to help facilitate or moderate, but
Yeah,
certainly no one with a weapon, no one
right.
with, attack
Attacking,
training.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's not the so there's room for innovation. I come from, I'm part of this startup culture, and you look at a problem and you figure out how to solve it, and I don't believe that kind of mentality has been applied um to government, um to um policing, to law enforcement. How can we, and the outcomes aren't measured. We're just like, oh, just give more money to the police. But does that translate to less crime? Does that translate to more people that are self-sufficient, more wealth, more safety, more happiness? Like, we're not measuring those things right now. And so I'm definitely in favor, and it's actually hard for me to even accept the incremental solutions that
yeah,
are generally offered by politicians.
right. Little
And
crumbs.
right, like, in some minds, defund the police means they have $100 million budget this year, so let's reduce it to 99 million. That's not meaningful. I'm
Right,
like, let's change the whole system based
right,
based on first principles, based on measurement, based on science, based on how can we have the safest, happiest, society possible.
right.
And I think that's how these things need to be approach. But I didn't feel like, I haven't felt like that I should start a podcast about that, and start a post my own social media channel with about those ideas. um, you know, and I also was feeling the weight of all of these issues, like, you know,
Just try to process it.
well, in the sense of I'm trying to process it. I'm trying to figure out what are the best solutions, what's the impact that I can make. I'm also trying to figure out how I can survive as a company, as a family. How can I continue to have a balance to stay healthy? You know, it's like, if I'm already operating at, you know, 150% capacity, and then this the George Floyd happens, and the expectation maybe is that I'm gonna add another 100% of you know, activities on top of that 150 that I've already gone. So now I need to be at protests, I need to be posting, I need to be speaking publicly. I mean, where does the support my family, keep
Yeah.
my business afloat,
Yeah.
um,
Pay the rent or mortgage, right? Yeah.
pay the rent, stay healthy? Where does that fit in that, you know, um, in that equation? And then what are the resources that I have? You know, it's a lot of pressure, you know, and I definitely have taken it on, in the sense of figuring out how can I be more efficient with what are my skills, what are my resources that I can apply to this um, problem. And I thought that it was, or I think that it's the mentorship part. It's the employees that I already have, making sure that they have a job, um, and teaching other entrepreneurs. Those felt like the places that I could have the most impact, rather than you know, an all-day stream of social media posts. So, you know, if people didn't see that, that's why. It's because um, I'm looking for me. That's how I felt like I could make the most impact. That's, you know, and I'm a musician. I'm an engineer, and I want to use those talents and abilities to help change change the world in the ways that can stop police brutality, that can be stop racism, that can support other black entrepreneurs and black people, and create self-sufficiency in the most effective way possible, given the resources, the time, the talents, the education that I have. And that I just try to make a really rational decision about that.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. No, that's smart, and you know that could have just been my interpretation. So please don't think that there's a
Yeah.
bunch of. But I
No.
think it also is a good lesson of not spreading yourself too thin
Yeah.
and not wasting your time.
I'm already spread too thin.
Yeah.
I'm spread way too thin.
Well, you seem to
So,
keep good spirits about it, but you know,
yeah.
and also more to the point, focusing. You know what a good producer is someone that knows a little bit about everything, but knows the right person for the job, and not to
That's
waste
right.
their time, like you said, not to waste your time on stuff that you're bad at. Not
Yep.
pretend that you're good at something. Know your weaknesses and have the networking skills and the resources to be like, all right, I need this guy on
Yeah.
drums, I need this guy on bass. Oh, this is the engineer I need
Yes.
to mix the board. This is the person that's, you know, good with the special effects or whatever it might be.
Great
Right.
analogy. And
Yeah,
that's definitely
so
the way. Like, how can I build a team? How can we make the best record? How can we get the best outcome for the people? And it's not necessarily by me playing every instrument.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also too, you know, from a business strategy too, it's a good, you know, the CEO shouldn't be doing it all.
No.
And you know, for me myself, I need to learn that, you know, so it's good to hear. I think other people that are running their own business or trying to do their own thing, certainly starting out when you're just yourself and before you have resources to really pay people,
Yeah.
you know, but as you branch out, it's good to expedite and sort of expedite out
Well,
and just
yeah, well, it's definitely life is a team sport. You know, if you can rally other people to your cause and find other experts that you can work with, you know, it's important to learn, you know, each part of your business. Um, but at some point, you got to get other people involved, and that's the only way that you can scale. And you know, that goes with changing the world and stopping police brutality as well. You know, um, if I did go out and join protests, but if that's all I did, um, it would probably just stop. You know, there at the when the protest was over, you know, the change wouldn't happen.
and we have seen a lot of change happen because of the protests, or a lot of people act by seeing the protests and say, okay,
Right.
well, this is causing me to change. I mean, even down to, I don't think the Washington Redskins ended that logo, you know, just out of thin air. It had to do with
No,
what's going
no,
on, right? You know what I mean?
no.
So
Yeah,
you can say there is a
protests.
direct connection, you know,
Oh
but
yeah, no
it's not
protest.
just the protest. You have to follow through with it. It's sort of, you
Yeah,
know, the
you need
flashy
both.
stuff that makes good news, but
Right.
there's all this back end you got to do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. No, there's definitely the back end. I don't think there is change without the protests. And I'm just in the scheme of things, my part. I'm doing my part. But it's not maybe quite as visible. Uh, or just it's not manifesting itself in social media posts, I guess.
right? But I mean, that's just visceral, anyways. I mean, the thing about it is when you alluded to the fact that, okay, if I'm focusing, you know, more nuclear and more insulary, okay, well, there's all the people that I've already initiated. I've already been an entrepreneur. I've already shown growth and given job opportunity to my community when I could have done the outsourcing to China, because hey, that's cost effective for me to survive for my own personal family. But by, you know, a weird combination of events, both positive and negative, here you are, and oh, by the way, Zoo Labs has space for you. Zoo Labs is a resource. You're creating jobs for people. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot of job training, job skills through that. And then it is, you know, you know, you are able to continue with your mission, and you know, from the user end, from all the musicians that are now can streamline their production workflow because the electrospin is that much easier to use than a traditional talk box or whatever it be. So, you know, it's kind of like that ripple effect. You might, you know, in your head, because you got so much going on, you wear it well, like I say,
Yeah.
but in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all over the place. I didn't do as much, but you probably have a lot more effect on benefiting the community in this time of trouble than you realize because of all those different aspects of it, right?
Yes, that's
So
that's
take a
exactly
breath and give yourself a pat on the back.
yeah, no, exactly. When I you know, I felt the weight, I feel the weight of what can I do, and but I also have to keep that in mind. Like if I stop what I'm doing to do something different than all of the things that I already had in progress that were helping all of the causes that I believe in also stop. So you're right. I gotta keep employing people in this community and educating people in this community and mentoring people in this community and building a business, you know, that's owned by a black owned business. You know, I got to keep on doing those things. I can't stop those things. So that's
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, you
And
hit it.
to play off another question I had about team building and you know, knowing the right people, or not knowing the right people, but building the right people with you. Um, when I met you, I met your wife, who's very lovely and very smart and very intelligent in her own right. But the team that you have and how her end of the business, and I don't think a lot of people can do that. You know, a lot of people don't want to work with their spouse. They want to have that separate so they can come home. They can have their job in a box and they can have their life in a box, their personal life in a box. So has it been a challenge? Has it been growing pains? You guys work, it seems like you work really well together. Again, I'm sure behind the scenes, just like anyone, you might have some differences and things like that. So talk about that growth and how important that is to you for your wife to be involved in your company.
She's been amazing. When I started Electrospit, in order to join Zoo Labs, I needed a team. So I had really been used to operating as a solo, entrepreneur, and she was the first person I asked, or I was just looking for someone who could do marketing. And she said, well, until you find somebody, I can just fill in, and she totally, I found two other people, Pete Miser and Lance Coleman, who were incredible for founding the company, but she was doing marketing and helped come up with the vision and the mission for the company. And her blueprint is all throughout the Electrospit DNA, and us working together was a huge, it really brought us together in terms of overcoming challenges together, brings you together closely with someone. We gain more respect for each other's abilities by all of the challenges and the successes that we had together. We always had kind of this, lots to talk about, the common experiences and ideas for the company that we could always, so it in that respect that it has been great. I would say the flip side is, because it has been so difficult, launching this company, that has introduced a lot of stress, not between us so much, but just in our lives, feeling, always on the brink, having to look for financing all the time, having to solve, all of these problems. And then we had other challenges that were unrelated that all kind of happen at the same time. I'll write the book one of these days, and
don't feel like you have to delve in details. This is not Real Housewives, okay?
right, but there's so many layers to the
we all got this stuff we're going through. It's crazy how we try and not let personal stuff affect, but we're all human, right?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. And it's not and it hasn't been personal stuff with her personally, but we've just together been fighting all of these different battles, and it's definitely been exhausting. And she had to take a break recently, just for a while, to just get some air and some space from the grind of this. But she's back, and back, and we got some exciting stuff we're doing together right now. But it's been great. It's been great working together, and we've grown together. We've learned together. We've learned from each other. She's taught me so much about marketing and people and customers and missions and values and meditation and just so many things. So it's been great working with Maya, and I think that I understand why a separation of your business life or your work life and your home life can be important. I've really seen a lot of benefit from I started going to the office. I come into Zoo Labs now as opposed to working from the house, and that's allowed me to be more focused during my work day and then more focused on the family when I'm at home. So we've been making tweaks like that to the whole system. But there's a lot of good that's come out of it for sure. Yeah.
That's great, and I hope you will entertain us with some performance here. I just have a few more quick questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know if you have a specific song you've been working on, but I just want to go back to, because a lot of what this podcast is about is the creative freelancer, whether you be an artist, a performer, a producer, a filmmaker, and talking shop. And for those up and coming or those still trying to make it, or from that realm of mentorship and sharing knowledge and learning from each other. I noticed that not only have you worked with an eclectic group of artists, but you've also done a lot of stuff for TV and different types of shows. So, you know, and it just speaks to sort of the different revenue streams, you know. So if you want to talk a little bit about, you know, diversifying and how important that is, and you know, whether it be royalties through songs or reruns on TV shows or whatever it might be, how important that is, and what advice would you give to people that are trying to establish that kind of diversified revenue streams?
So I am not actually a fan of diversification. I'm a fan of diversity, but I'm not a fan of diversification.
Diversified income, multiple revenue streams, right?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times that happens when you're not intentional about what you want to accomplish, and I think that as creative people, we often have all of these ideas about stuff that we can do. We might be super talented, and you know that I suffer from being good at a lot of different things. So, and I've seen and been in awe of people who maybe aren't so good at a lot of different things, but they maybe have one thing that they're good at, or they're very passionate about something that maybe they're just okay at, but they're able to become very successful by being focused on that thing. And with Electrospit, I reined in all of my different activities and focused on this project. I can produce, I can sing, I can play talk box, I can do accounting. I'm a beast on the legal. I understand law really well. I'm good at math. I can do all aspects of music, from sequencing to mixing to mastering. But instead of looking for mastering projects, I'm just gonna make sure that my Instagram video sounds really good to help sell the Electrospit. And instead of producing a bunch of songs for different artists, I'm gonna produce really great content for the Electrospit commercials. And it's just like, how do I focus all of my talents on the most important project? And I always use this this concept. If you have 5 ideas that you want to get off the ground, and each one of those ideas maybe will take a year to do. If you do them all at the same time, it's going to take you 5 years before you finish anything. And by the time that 5 years rolls around, the reason for creating those projects, like, the world will have changed. There might not even be a need for that project anymore. So I think it's really important to pick something and do things in serial instead of parallel. Instead of saying, well, I'm an artist, but I want to get placements in film and TV, and I'm going to do licensing for video games, and then I'm also going to do live performance, and I'm going to do lessons. That's 5 different things. Each one of those things requires a different expertise. It requires a different set of contacts and a network and relationships. Requires a different strategy. So instead of doing all of those 5 things, I believe in focusing on the one that you love the most, that you have the most ability and passion for, and just put all of your energy into that. And you can have a finite time. You say, oh, I'm going to give it a year or 2 years and see where you are. But if you never focus on anything, then you'll never really know whether you could have done it. And that's, you know, has been my approach with Electrospit. I said, well, you know what, I'm just going to give it everything, and if it doesn't work, I'll be able to say, hey, I put 100% into it. And so I definitely, I see that with artists all the time. They say, oh, I want to get licensed music to film and TV. Well, that's a different thing. That's not the same as performing, you know. And the reason that, and then maybe they'll point to say, oh, such and such, this artist, Bruno Mars, he made $1 million from one license. Well, that's Bruno Mars. he got paid because he's Bruno Mars. He's amazing. But if you had that same song and gave it to the soundtrack people, they'll look at you and say, hey, I'll give you $500. And you know, the reason that he can make money off of his music and licensing it to films and TV and commercials, why he can make so much money, is because he's built himself up as an artist. And I feel like the same thing can be done on a smaller scale. Is the bigger you become as an artist, those opportunities will come, but they should be because you have fans. It shouldn't be like, I don't believe it should be a way to get fans per se, because it doesn't, I don't think it works nearly as well. You should be focused on whatever it is. If you say, hey, I want to make music for TV, I'm not trying to be an artist, then focus on that. Meet the music supervisors, you know, become best friends with the directors. You know, there's a whole path to being a professional, a guy who is a professional or composer. And that path has, you know, there's books you can read, there's videos you can watch, there's seminars you can go to, you know, and all of that stuff. And just focus and be great. Just be great. That's my advice.
Love it. I personally need to hear that, because as I build this brand, Viral Media Network, and the Sam Jack podcast, you know, I have all these. In fact, I just had a business meeting with some new team members, and you know, for a long time it's been just me. And you know, I've got a hiking video out. I do this podcast. I play around with music a little bit. I do all this stuff, but it's like I'm all over the place. And one of them in the meeting specifically was like, you know, there's not a clear message on what you're doing on the page, you know, on all your videos. You have a lot of great ideas, and that's great, like you said, but funneling them. And so I think we're very similar in the fact that, you know, we have all these interests, all these things, but you know, being able to hear, they're like, hey, just have that tunnel vision. I really envy those people, like you mentioned, that maybe not are as good, but have a really good way of just getting in the trenches, getting knee deep in that one thing, and just shooting for it and going straight. And that's really commendable. So I think that's great advice for anyone else out there that's looking for that. And it's okay to have multiple interests, but it's about focusing, building the brand, building the reliability of the audience. It takes time, right?
It's just time, putting those things in time boxes. If you have 5 different ideas, that's cool. Just take the ideas and write them down, start developing those ideas and thinking about them, but pick one that you're gonna make the main focus. And it's just so much easier if people, like when you meet somebody and you tell them what you do, if you give them 5 things, they don't even know who to introduce you to. They don't know how to help you in that process. And it's just a complicated story that you're telling. And if you can just pick one thing and just run with it, I think you can get a lot further faster.
Absolutely. Well, great advice. And believe it or not, we're almost an hour and a half in. I mean, we just went into it. I love it. But if it's not too much, you still down to perform a little bit for us, so we can really see that talk box in action. You tease it a little bit at the end and in the middle, but
yeah.
Are you just gonna jam, or you have a specific song you're going?
I don't have like a specific song, but
It's cool.
I'll play my talk box.
Play it, baby.
You. Oh, and I love to play. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh. Ooh, whoa, and I play my talk box. Ooh, polyphonic sometimes. Ooh, and I love the way it sounds. Ooh, you can play like this, yeah. Ooh, electro spit, yeah.
so yeah, that's electro spit, man.
That's electro spit,
That's so
yeah.
awesome. That's so
Wow.
awesome. And you know, if you can, I mean, it's just the greatest thing to see. You know, it's like I know it's a more than audience, but it's almost an audience of one. Like you're a kid in a candy store of your own invention. I mean, it's like pure bliss. I just love that, and I know from watching, you know, tuning in for some of the Talkbacks Tuesday and watching some of your videos, it's really catching on. And I think not only from the niche audience that are the Talkbox artists. It's really approachable for other artists or just people that are more hobbyists and just kind of want to expand their, you know, like, you know, toys, so to speak,
Yeah.
for that kind of hobby artist. I think there's a lot of room to grow there, and you've just done a good thing here, and it's just really awesome to know your history and see where you've come from, and as far as your career and all the music that you've produced, and then like you said, have it culminate with your engineering background, and like you said, really focusing all your skills on this one thing that you can just, like, you know, grow and evolve. So it's really awesome.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate you having me, and it's been great talking. And man, I'll be looking forward to checking out the podcast in the future.
Absolutely. Well, cool, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us. And again, if you're not sure what this podcast is all about, it's the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. All about the entrepreneur, the creative freelancer, the musician, the performer, making their own way and providing opportunities for others as well. And
it's the Sam Jack Podcast. Oh, yeah. Tune in right here. Oh, yeah. Sam Jack.
I love it. We might have to talk about how we can get that on some ringtones or something. But
that's right.
They still sell ringtones. I don't know, but we've been putting them up on the screen. But if you want to do any shout outs, electrospit.com, the Kickstarter, just search Electrospit. It comes right up. I don't think there's is there a Kickstarter.com/electrospit, or it's kind of a funky numbers and stuff?
The Kickstarter, right now, we don't have a Kickstarter that's active. There's information on Kickstarter that you can look at. You can see our Kickstarter video, but you can definitely go to electrospit.com. We're shipping right now, so you can order the ESX1 Talkbox. You can order the Electrospit Talkbox Synth app. And we also have a new app called Poly that allows you to play polyphonically. That's what I was doing a second ago when you whoa, 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 whoa. You can play polyphonic. You can play.
That's great.
Harmonies.
Chords.
Yep, chords.
Yeah.
Let me see. Ooh. You can play chords and harmony, yeah. So
that's really awesome.
App. It works with any Talkbox. So check out Poly on the App Store, the Talkbox Synth by Electrospit on the App Store, and the hardware at electrospit.com. So yeah, and check us out on Instagram as well.
That's so awesome. Well, Bosko, Conte, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Hope you can come back on the show. in future, so we can get an update and just talk more. Because I feel like even though we're about an hour and a half in, we could probably talk for another 2 hours if we really wanted to.
There's more. There's more. We can get
Absolutely.
deeper.
Deep,
Awesome.
deep, deep, deep.
Oh, I'll take you deep, baby. I love it.
Deep.
Well, peace, be well. Send my best to your wife and the rest of the people working hard there at Electrospit, and all the best. Continued success in the future.
Thank you. You too, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to share it, thumbs up, or leave a comment. Also, subscribe to our channel, Viral Media Network 415. On it, you'll find a lot of great other content. Check out the playlist. We've got podcasts, live vlog, hip-hop kung fu theater, local Bay Area hikes, and other great content. And we're always developing more.